for that reminder.
Just did it today.
Welcome. We're also starting the meeting at 6:21. Let the record show. And I think the first thing on our agenda is to approve the June 2023 minutes.
I seconded it.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Sally, motions for a second.
Second.
Madeline seconds. All in favor? Okay. On Chair's report, it says officer vacancies. We're gonna table that until our August meeting. And I just wanted, for my report, to just take a minute and say thank you to Madeline and the staff and everybody who helped out with the tabling events. It was amazing. We had really, really excellent, swag. If you have not had any of your swag, we had some great stuff still, from the AFFEST table. It was awesome. So thank you all for everybody who was able to come out and participate in that. It was really, really wonderful. Thanks, Sally, for the idea of the bubble machine. It was
Oh my gosh, that's what brought everybody in, and the people were taking pictures and hashtagging public art. And yeah. It was so good. Yeah.
And the guy, it was so funny. Every guy who walked by was so funny with his brother.
I know they were like.
It really was a lovely invitation.
Yeah.
And I think it really fit with the mission of what we do, because it sort of allowed people to pay attention to what was going on around them and then come and engage with us in a way that we didn't have last year. So I thought it was really, really a lovely thing. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who kind of helped bring that together and make that happen. So from there, we'll move on to staff report.
Okay, so hopefully most of you, I know Montu was having some trouble, but I saw you got those all done. And I know Ezra's not here, but she was having some trouble logging into her email. But if you are able to log into your email and able to sign up for the BAC training, please complete those videos as soon as possible. When I sent out your information about the email, there was also a sign up for the BAC training. If anyone needs me to resend that, please let me know. But yeah, please enroll in the training and complete those videos as soon as possible. I get a report every couple of weeks that lets me know who has signed up or not signed up, completed, where they are with the training, how many videos they watch, that sort of thing. So you don't have to send me those certificates. It, kind of automatic. No, it's fine. No. I'm glad that you were like, no, I did it and I've proven it to you. But I do get a report.
Ever the good
So, right?
Turns his homework in.
No, and it will automatically download those certificates. I think as soon as you complete each section, you can save them if you want to, or, but don't worry about it. I'm able to see who completes it and who has not. And so is the clerk's office and everybody else. So we'll be able to verify that. And, there's no, I haven't been given like a hard deadline on when those need to be completed, but obviously as soon as possible. And of course, pending any issue, you have logging into the email and that sort of thing. In order to kind of help orient everyone with some of the BAC training, I went ahead and printed out some copies of the BAC manual. This manual is kind of old. It was done pre-COVID, so there's no discussion of virtual versus in person or anything like that. But it is a good overview. It does not take the place of any of the training videos. That is the required training, but this will kind of just help you, refer to some kind of quick things. This document is also on the ACC website, and I'll send out a link for the full document. I printed out the first 20-ish pages, because the last 20 pages are all, an overview of each BAC. So I didn't think you needed all that information, but if you want to know more about the the planning commission or the tax commission or anything like that. That's where you find it, how many members they have, what they do, that sort of thing. It's interesting, but just for the sake of saving paper, I just printed out just sort of the, some of the policies and some of the, checklists and things like that. There's a lot of information about the mayor and commission and the city manager and kind of everybody's role, just sort of in the government in general, which I think will be helpful moving forward as we go on to do an actual orientation meeting with everybody. So, at your leisure, take a look at that. And so speaking of member orientation, Stephanie and I, along with Victoria, have been chatting about plans for a member orientation and what that would look like. And we're kind of looking at the September 11th meeting to do that. Sort of, kind of the general plan right now is to maybe do a bit of a tour with the arts division and some of our public art for the first couple hours, and that will be kind of an optional thing. Because not everyone has 4 hours to, give to us for this. So that would be sort of a little tour and kind of more of a in-person orientation, and then the actual meeting would take place for the latter 2 hours during our normal, meeting time. So if you're just planning to come to the meeting, you'll be able to participate in that orientation. If you have a little bit more time, we'll be doing a little tour, and Stephanie, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so what we're proposing is like an extended retreat, so it's like a 4-hour bank of time. And we would actually have the meeting at the Cooperative Extension Building at Cleveland Road. I've reserved the Cooperative Extension. I don't know if you'll ever been out before. It's where the Origins piece is, as well as the Heroes Path. So we would meet there at like 4 o'clock, and then we would, whoever wanted to come from the 4 to 6 portion, we'd pile into a van that Alex would drive us, because Alex is a good driver, and we got these vans and leisure services. And we would go and visit like up close and talk about some of the works of art, like walk up and look at Rainbow Forest, and also talk a little bit about like maintenance things and sort of understanding the sites, and just have a look around some proposed sites. And I haven't put that whole part together yet, but we can arrive at that. So that's like a 2-hour portion, riding around town with, a tour and understanding like some of the landscape of, and maybe even looking at potential sites for like, what if this is the spot? So then we would arrive back at the Cooperative Extension Building and have a meal. We'd start off with a meal, like maybe if you guys like burritos, kind of easy for vegetarians and everybody, would have like a nice meal together. Also, I'm looking into inviting an artist to have that meal with us, so TBD on that. So a local Athens artist to have that meal with us and have some dialogue. And then I would, and Tatiana and I would present, like, here's the 5 major goals of the public art program for FY24. And we would go through that, and then also cover like some roles and responsibilities, how local government works, and like where the Cultural Affairs Commission fits into that. And also we would have like an overview of really even just like some background information on how Tatiana and I arrived at this job and this work. Just like, I don't know if that would help, but some biographical information about where we come from and how we arrived here. And then we'd also build in some time, like some social time for all of us to sort of get to know each other. And it would just be like us. So we would ask at the minimum for y'all, if you could commit to a 2-hour meeting for sure on September 11th. I knew usually these meetings run, hour and a half sometimes. So this, we are asking from 6 to 8 for the actual meeting. And if you have the option and you can join us for the tour and the sort of, tour about town, that would start at 4 p.m. So, and we wanted to make sure, I didn't want to do it like, let's do it next meeting, because there's so many people we know are out and vacationing right now or missing this meeting, which is fine. So I tried to put it out far enough out that we could plan for it. We have business to do next. We know we have some things that need to get covered in the next meeting. And then also we have a chance for our folks to plan for it. Maybe some folks might want to get off work early that day or something like that. We try to accommodate everybody. And then we also are still within giving people a chance to have done their training. So you're really like soaked in the meeting part. And now we're really going to talk about like, what is this look like together, and which kind of leads me into the next bullet point. Which is one of the big pieces that we're also working on, is talking about the public art master plan. The public art master plan, we've pretty much completed it, like, it had major goals, and we've really ticked all those
5-year
boxes.
plan.
And we feel like this, because we're in a new place where we've kind of come through a lot, we've completed the master plan, where there's a lot of like new ways that the Cultural Affairs Commission is operating. This would be a really good time to like restart from a new place going forward, and that creating a public art master plan involves a lot of participation from this commission, but also this is the part where y'all do your ambassador work, where you bring people in to help shape these conversations. Like, what does Athens need? What is the public art? What does it mean to this community? And like, what does the roadmap look like forward? And we would hire a person who actually helped us with the last, because we can go directly to this person, because they are the proprietary provider of that service in the past, so we can go back. So it's like an update to the work we've already done, instead of starting from zero with a brand new person. Tatiana and I met with Todd this morning and had a nice like hour-long meeting with him, which was great, because like he wrote the last one. He knows already a lot of work, and this is the work that he does.
And some of you might remember Todd from when he was here before, Jessica, maybe Madeline, yeah.
And so it's a great opportunity to like look at what is needed in this community, and just like talk about, it's very community specific, but having this neutral third party person to help guide these conversations and shape what the roadmap is from where we are now to where we're trying to go as a community, and we see all these SPLOST and T-SPLOST and funding opportunities. We can see them coming down the line. So what is that going to look like time over year? So that's another thing I want y'all to be thinking about, and we can talk more about that. I'm putting together like, what is the official timeline? What's the price and all those kinds of things? So we could talk more in depth of those details in the next meeting. But I can also, so just wanted to present that as something that we've been talking about. I feel it's a good time to update the public art master plan.
That master plan was never approved.
Yes.
And so is there maybe an effort now to get it actually officially?
We had this conversation with him this morning, and I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't, say
Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course,
But there's a thing around, like, when we have a master plan, the mayor and commission can accept it or they can adopt it. And adopting it is like, everything in this book is exactly what we're doing about. This is it right here. Accepted is like, yes, this is like guidelines. These are good shaping, but it's not like it's less official. I mean, I know that's a really glib way to describe it, but I'm looking into what that looks like, and also like how much commitment is this for staff? How much commitment is this for y'all? For what does it look like to have these community conversations over the next year? We did talk about doing it just in this next year. Todd thinks that given what we talked about this morning, and Tati and I are working on a scope of work, this is a project we could undertake and have completed in 6 months, hopefully. So it's something we could do throughout this next year.
We might want to just take a temperature of the commission and see what the little hurdles are out there. Because the last go around, the biggest hurdle was staff, adding staff, which we did in spite of that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look into that. I wasn't here when they did the last one, nor was Tatiana in her role. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
So we have to see where we're at with this. I also will say that leisure services as a department is also right now we're working to develop a strategic plan. We are working with 2 people who are bidding for that, 2 firms that are currently like looking into that. So we're in this process. I'm in this process from like a departmental scope, and this is more like a really close reading of the public art and what it would look like to update the public art master plan and incorporate some of the new things and the new ways that will work. So just something for y'all to think about, and I will have more answers in August.
I think this is really, sorry, go ahead.
What is Todd's last name?
Bresi, Bressi. Bresi.
Resi. And when was the last master plan?
That was 2017.
So no, it's accepted.
I have to look at the proper terminology to describe
I
how
think it was accepted.
It was accepted,
accepted.
Accepted, but not adopted.
but not adopted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. One is just pointing out, I've read this like 3 times today, I guess you would call it the charter, the ordinance that authorized ACAC.
Mhm.
And it does say in here, ACAC, like the duties of the commission, it says, we will create a public art master plan. So this just seems like the next logical step, like we literally have to do this, to create this. And then it says to be approved by the mayor and commission. So I don't know if that language is like prescribes the goal really. So just keep, I don't know, we might want to just keep that in mind of like, is that the goal, or is the goal to be, is the accepted level again, is that okay? Or should we try to like evolve to have something that would be more fleshed out and specific to be able to be like achieved over however many.
That's why I need one more
Yeah.
month before we officially.
And then my other question was about the 5 major goals of the public art program, and how would that, if you are presenting that, how is that different than like goals we would make as a commission?
Because the goals that I'm setting for, the goals that we're gonna talk about are the arts division are the goals of the public art program. The cultural affairs commission will make recommendations for.
Okay,
And I'm gonna I'll present those and talk more about those at the workshop. So that's what we're gonna do is like, they're big buckets. We're gonna talk about like, what does this look like to shape this work going forward? And this is the part the cultural affairs commission makes recommendations and like for those to achieve those goals.
What goals?
I haven't presented them yet. I'm going to.
so, yeah, I'm only asking just because I've read this so many times today and I want to make sure I understand it. But it seems to me, a little, not backwards, but I guess I'm just trying to understand the order of operations of like who comes up with a goal. And is there any way that we could contribute to that in advance, or is it only, staff sets the goals and then we can just set sub goal, you know what I mean? So kind of stuff,
I do.
like, how does that kind of work?
I think, the goals are going to be broad enough and general enough that they're what we're gonna, y'all will make recommendations within those, but this is like
Like,
what,
these are the things that we need to focus on for the
Yeah,
next.
no,
and this is what we have resources for.
Right.
And so it's gonna be just like, here's the areas and like, what should we do under each individual umbrellas? So we're gonna have open dialogue. That's why we have 2 hours set aside so that we can talk about, here's the 5 areas and like, here's what do we need? What does this look like to achieve these goals and what's achievable in this year and what needs to go roll out year by year?
Yeah.
And that's September 11th? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense as long as it's, like you said, an open dialogue, and
It
that's
is,
the whole
yeah,
point,
I mean,
and that's just a
it
starting
is.
point, so
Yeah.
that's just one, sure.
Yeah, so I just want to say how much I appreciate, this is a lot of work and effort, that this team is doing. So when we talked, I think what I missed and what I don't want 6 new members to miss, because we're inviting, welcoming 6 new people, is this orientation and this big zoomed out picture of leisure services, the arts division, and sort of this, how I think of it as a beach ball. There's the red stripe, yellow stripe, green stripe. Where do we fit in that bigger vision? And I think this time and effort and energy that it's going to take to prepare that is going to give us some shared language that I personally have not had up until this point. So I really appreciate, because it is a lot of work. And then, we're making it optional, the 4 to 6 piece, but I would say the men could be like strongly encouraged to attend, because I think having boots on the ground and looking at these arts projects and having the context and history and maintenance and some of those things will be really important in helping us make better, more informed decisions moving forward. And then just kind of as a final thing, this master plan, just for the new folks, is on the website. So you can look at it on the website and review it. I love the idea that we could, adapt it. I also really want to make sure that we are celebrating a lot of the work that was done here, and we're taking time to celebrate this work. Again, that's for those of us who kind of came in the middle and those of us who are new to this commission. A tremendous amount of work has been done. A lot of progress has been made. We've had COVID, all other sorts of things have happened. But I want to make sure that part of that September 11th meeting is celebrating this work also. So that's my 2 cents on it. So let's try to wait until September and make sure that we have space to have this conversation in a bigger way. But thank you all for putting it together.
Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate that.
I want to say, for those of us who've been around a minute and a half, when you've actually participated in the selection process and then seen it come to fruition. And then you can just like stand back and go, oh my gosh, like we accomplished these things. It's so meaningful. And, you know, I feel like you guys, in a few more years, you'll be able to celebrate those things too. I love I mean, we've done a lot of site visits and we've done a lot of, you know, actual work with some of these projects, and it's taking the ability to take a little bit of ownership and kind of some pride in what we've accomplished in Athens, it's pretty spectacular. It's pretty heartwarming. And you guys, we could not ask for two better people.
Thank you.
And so, sorry, there was one other thing I just made a note. So with that, knowing that we're gonna get this much broader orientation of, you know, I think it's gonna take a lot of work for these ladies to get organized around. If we could, and again, just for the minutes, please try to do the BAC training by the next meeting, because then at that meeting, I think if there was questions or clarifications or anything that we could offer feedback, and they're like, can you help us understand this piece a little bit more? They could help build that into the orientation in September. So that would be my request, is that everyone complete by August and come prepared with any questions, so that that orientation can reflect and be an opportunity to hash out any of those things.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. Appreciate that. So yeah, and the other update I have is that the bus shelter signs, we have them. I had ordered them prior to being on PTO, and then when I came back, I picked them up. So we have those in hand. They have not been installed, but update pending on that. So project reports, I'll just roll right into projects. I know y'all discussed the arena last meeting, and that next finalist review is going to be this Wednesday. So I put together a completely different selection panel, all new members. None of these folks have seen any of the finalist proposals. So we have about a dozen or so folks that have signed up through the ACC Gov website. So totally mixed bag people. We'll see what happens, and then we'll have you know, the next the work session presentation will be in August, and then in September the mayor and commission will vote on that artwork.
That's two selection panels, right, or the one panel for both?
It's, I'm putting together one for sites 1 and sites 2, so we'll do them both, with the same group of people, yes. But this is a different group than the previous, okay, just making sure.
For the meeting in August, that feels like that's the meeting where you say, okay, this is where we landed. I mean, like that's,
So, yeah, the,
like, I'm curious if us who were in the first panel get to know what the second.
you'll get to see my, mayor and commission work session presentation, so,
Okay.
so everyone will see that. Yeah, I don't do those often, but,
And that's recorded, right?
that's
It's live.
recorded, it's live on the YouTube. Y'all can watch at home. Y'all can come into
Tuesday,
City
the
Hall
8th,
and
right?
sit in the audience. if you
8th of
want.
August?
The 8th of August, yes.
It's on the agenda right there if you need the reference later.
Very exciting. Of course, the Athens Music Walk of Fame inductees were announced at AthFest. And of course, everyone was at AthFest promoting public art, which was wonderful. So we got some press about that, which is nice. We'll probably have a little bit more coming up as well.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
I remember that there had been some discussion about doing some kind of concert. Is that on there?
So, so just to keep in mind, the Athens Music Walk of Fame has its own committee.
Right.
So, that committee doesn't have an event budget. So the budget for this project is just going to the plaque fabrication, right now. That doesn't mean that will always be the case, but, probably, that's something that needs to be discussed about how, how will they have a budget to do any sort of event? And we might do like maybe a 5-year celebration or something down the road, where we'll be able to do something with all the inductees. Because remember, this was like a COVID rollout, and then there was really no events planned, and then, so.
Question, yeah. So though there's the separate selection panel for the Music Walk of Fame, if we're still talking about it in these meetings, and it's still public art, can that not, the outreach and something like a concert or a ribbon cutting or any kind of thing like that, to me falls under like education and outreach for public art, which would be an appropriate use of our funds, right?
Mhm.
So why do we talk about it?
Well, we can slash it. She doesn't have to give updates in this meeting
No,
anymore.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Because like the Cultural Affairs Commission's funds are earmarked to pay for the production of the plaques. They pay for the design in perpetuity and the production of the plaques. But the selection and all of the other work around that comes from a separate commission. It just happens to have the same liaison person. So Tatiana is liaison for 3 of these committees and 3 committees, different ones, including this commission. And so that's all, but, so yeah, I'm sorry if it's confusing or conflating, but.
What is the third one? Yeah, what is the third one?
It will be. Well, we're trying to formalize.
There's not a
No,
third
next
one yet,
one,
but
poet
we're talking about creating a separate one for the poet laureate, yeah.
So, yeah.
First I
So
was
we
like, oh
cannot-
no, I've been forgetting.
Because
Just
the
to circle
people on
back, we
this-
just can't use any funds to
I
help
don't know if that's the case.
in collaboration. That's what it says in our ordinance, is that we can help,
I didn't say it was
It's the
impossible,
outreach.
but I said it wasn't on the books right now, because it's the mayor's commission.
sure.
And that, so the people on that commission are appointed by the mayor, and the people on this commission are appointed by the
The mayor
mayor
and
and commission. It's a different root of authority, so I have that on my notes to ask for a meeting with the mayor about it. I have to ask the manager's office for a meeting with the city mayor in order to have the meeting to discuss this. And these are all points on the agenda, so I'll have to, just TBD.
And that brings me to just my next update. Of course, Poet Laureate, that program was started 2 years ago with our very first Poet Laureate. So as we've learned since then, ACAC can't create a separate committee. Only the mayor and commission or the mayor's office or the city manager can create a separate committee. But what we can do, what I can do as a staff member is put a selection panel together. So my plan for our next Poet Laureate call is to put a selection panel together to review those applicants. So that will be happening in the next couple months because his term is up in August. We've had a lot of conversations internally about how to move forward with that program, but the overall feedback is that it's been very well received and is something that we should keep going. It's a pretty small investment financially, so there's no reason to. Kimberly.
Can you talk about how he was chosen?
Sure.
Was it around this time?
So there was a committee that was put together by ACAC members at the time that had a few ACAC members. I think Montu was on that committee and some of our former members, and as well as a few other members of the community. There was a call for Poet Laureate. You had to submit an application with some, published poems and other items. So it would just be a matter of taking that previous call, updating the dates, and putting together a new selection panel to review those.
At that point in time, how many applicants were there for Poet Laureate?
It was, I want to say, probably like less than a dozen.
Yeah, I was gonna say 15, but yeah.
10-ish. But, it was a very new program. Also, I think, the way the application process is, it's not like you're nominating someone else, you're applying as someone who wants to do it, which is important because this is a pretty major time commitment. It's not something I think would be appropriate to really volunteer someone else. It's not just a title. And it's very important that we maintain that it's not just a title, that there is an actual scope of work that comes with this, because otherwise it would be a gratuity. So when we worked with Jeff, our first poet laureate, he was really instrumental in kind of creating you know, a template for how we'll be putting together future poet laureate programs. You know, the poet laureate, the selected poet laureate will be able to kind of decide, oh, you know, I have this many hours, let's say, I think it was like 40 hours a year was kind of the commitment. And how will I be spending those? Am I doing workshops? Am I doing appearances? What combination of those? And kind of creating an outline and a scope of work. And that would be part of their contract. And this is someone who is contracted with Athens-Clarke County, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the next item is T-Splosh 2023. So the mayor and commission have approved the final list of T-Splosh 2023 projects. Those are all on the ACC website if you want to go through and familiarize yourself with them. Both Stephanie and myself and Alex and Diana and Marjorie from Splosh have been in discussions about, you know, having a better understanding of what these projects are. Because some of them are might sound similar. But, you know, there's subtle language that differentiate one project from another. Not all of these projects are eligible for public art. If it's something that's just equipment replacement or something like that, or maintenance, that's not eligible, but things like, you know, anything where there's infrastructure and, you know, a capital project, that is eligible. Some of those budgets are really small, and they may not be tenable to really do much of a project. Some of those projects may not have a lot of visibility. So there's a few things to consider, and we're kind of putting together a staff recommended list of the projects that are going to be appropriate for public art, or at least tenable in terms of budget, that sort of thing. Also, we're trying to be a little bit more strategic about them as well. If there are, let's see, like 2 or 3 different sites where they're doing pedestrian improvements that involve transit upgrades, those might be good for something like a bus shelter. Then we would maybe combine those projects and do a call for, you know, all 3 at once. So we're not doing, you know, multiple calls for different sites. If we have, let's say, 3 sites identified for bus shelters, we do a call for 3 bus shelters, something like that. So just trying to be a little bit more strategic in how we kind of organize some of those projects. So, you know, just to kind of save some staff time, save project managers time, things like that. And also be able to do the maximum amount of projects that we can. So that'll be coming probably in the next couple of months. That might be part of our orientation discussion as well. Working on those recommendations as staff and BAC.
Thank you.
And as far as other updates, not a lot of updates since last meeting. We have a few projects that are just in the contracting phase, so it's just a matter of, you know, getting those contracts executed, getting the insurance documentations, permitting, things of that nature. So, so yeah, and I've updated our project chart with just some of those little details if you want to review on your own. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, outreach. Is that you, madam?
So we already talked at the last meeting about, this is June event recap, but we already talked about, our tabling at Pride Fest. What we did at AthFest was, expanded on that. So we really focused, all of our like communications about joining the public art selection panels, and shared, in a bunch of different ways, including signs on every side of our tent. We table on Friday night. signs on every side of our tent and hand out slips of paper, and just every time we were talking to people about public art selection panel. So I checked this, last time I checked the stats, we didn't get as many scans on the QR code as I would have hoped. I think it was less than 20. But we handed out, I think at Pride, we probably handed out like 100 of those slips of paper. So it's still better to have data rather than like just, you know, a sign up sheet or, hey, here's where you can go. We can get a scan of who is actually engaging with it. So that's great. But I think that's something we should think about as we're talking about like goals and just like how do we engage people in the public, get them to sign up for selection panels. So that's just something I think we should all be thinking about. But yeah, we focused definitely on the panels sign up. And we had the activity board, even though we haven't been using it as an activity because of the wind for the past couple tabling sessions. It's the closest thing to a map of lots of public art, not all the public art, but some of it we have. So it has pictures and information, and people were really interested. We had some really good conversations with people from in town, out of town, kids all ages, like everybody was really positive at the tent, and everybody wanted to learn more. So we kind of talked to them about like, here's how the selection process works, which is that the public art, you know, the panel that makes the selection, we essentially pass on the recommendation.
And we talked a lot about it being community driven.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a really key aspect of the
Yeah.
outreach, focusing on the community.
Right, that people just didn't know how it worked, which is really cool educational opportunity. So I would love to see us do more of that. We don't have another outreach event planned like yet. So open to ideas for what's happening June, July, no, it's already June. It's already July. July, August, September, just anytime like now to the fall, we should go ahead and get stuff on the calendar so we can plan. We have invested in all the things we should need, including lots of fun swag. The idea with like pens and sunglasses is just things that would help people think about public art in their everyday life. The sunglasses can help people go see our public art out in the parks, etc. where it's sunny. And we got stickers, and Kimberly helped to design, she designed the stickers. And then we alley-ooped it into the other designs. Yeah, so it was a good team effort with Kimberly and Darcy helped out a lot. And thank you, Tatiana, Stephanie, well, Tatiana was out of town. You helped us make a lot of moves really quickly. So we really appreciate that because it made a huge difference having something that people can come up and take home with them. It really makes a big difference in how people think about public art when they go back out, so into the world. So.
I think the fans are still a big hit.
Oh yeah.
The fans remain a big hit.
Yes.
And I gave the fans to the Morton table the next day. It was very hot and they were a huge hit.
Yes, we DIY'd the Athens Music Walk of Fame fans, which I don't know if we need to do that in the future if it's not something that we need to think about or promote.
Well, it's also a thing too, where if we do decide to, we can just do it. It doesn't have to be tied to the year or the date, so it's just generic.
Well, we have
Or the fan could actually be like a photo of public art. Like
we already have, hang on. So we already have, they should have come in by now. I'm not sure, I haven't checked, but I'm sure they came in before the end of the fiscal year. We should have had many hundreds, I think.
Oh, that's that big box.
Yes, great.
Okay.
So they're generic. The fan that you designed. So it says, I have Heart Public Art in the same.
Hey, good.
Yeah, so, and we don't have to DIY them. They are already fabricated. We paid for that. So that will last probably the entire fiscal year, if not.
Okay, good.
So we already have that as a, forever giveaway at any kind of outdoor event. It would be great. And reusable because it's pretty sturdy.
Fun to do something at Porch Fest. I don't know if we could figure out how to like speak.
Latinx Fest is in July.
It's here tonight.
Porch Fest is more difficult than Madison.
I know, it'd be interesting to like,
Well, they don't do any, oh yeah, go ahead, sorry. Latinx Fest?
July is July 29th.
Latinx Fest?
Yeah.
Oh, it used to be in September.
I was gonna say, wasn't it September?
Latinx Fest?
Somewhere.
It used to be in September, but maybe it's, no. Porch Fest is not, they don't have any street closures or like formal spaces, so we could look at if there's like, if Boulevard Woods would be appropriate, like for us to set up in or somewhere like that where it could be like a safe place to have a tent that's not like private property, that might be appropriate.
We need to ask you'll also need to talk to the Historic Athens to ask permission to table that.
Yeah, good idea. Mhm.
And it's not me anymore.
So that's.
But good
if that's what
idea.
you want to do and you get that formalized, we can talk about that because I did something at Boulevard Woods for the first Porch Fest. I did like a kids activity at Boulevard Woods, just kind of like the upper top part of Boulevard Woods. I had like chalk drawing and like whatever. If kids wanted to take a break and fiddle with something instead of like standing around the sidewalk while some band plays a song, they could do that at Boulevard Woods. So that was the crowd, was definitely kids who were like, Mom, I want to go home now. But anyway.
Well, that's a good point, because that's what we would do with any, registered tabling is like, we go through the nonprofit, so we should definitely treat it, in the same way, so. thank you for
And
pointing that out.
last year at Porch Fest, Historic Athens actually had their own table at the Historic Athens location.
Yeah.
They were tabling.
They had it outside the fire hall and then they moved to the ending location. It was like
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, the mayor's house.
I'm not sure what they're doing this year.
Okay.
But.
I just thought it was an idea that it would be fun to.
Because I'll need to make sure if you do want to use Boulevard Woods, I'll have to clear that with the site supervisor
Right.
before trusting
Yes,
space.
great. So we've heard Latinx Pet Fest, Porch Fest, don't have to get them all now, because we would just be, planning, so just feel free to email me, outreach chair, and we can talk about it at the next meeting, but we'll look into Latinx Fest and see if that would be something feasible. That's one actually happening this month, and two, if we would have volunteers for it, so that should be October. Porch Fest is in October. Yeah. Let's see. I think that's all I have in mind for tabling recap. Just a really great engagement opportunities, thanks to our volunteers, and we would really love to spread out volunteer duties throughout the year and make sure it's not the same group of people volunteering every time, but it's, it's still volunteer, so no pressure.
And I want to add my thanks to Madeline too and Stephanie, because that tent looked amazing.
Mhm.
The lights were great, like the
Mhm.
decorations were, even though it's very short and I couldn't really help, it looked amazing. And I think, and having it done in such a short time, because we had to get it done, I thought it was great.
Yeah,
It
and the
made it
tent-
very fun. It was
really fun.
it
So
was
thank
very
you
fun.
so much for helping us move quickly on that, because we did it all within a week and a half, I think, so. And the tent, is outstanding, so,
Yeah.
great job. So I think next we had, under outreach, a website update, and Helen, our ex officio member, has been point person on that. If you want to share anything about the website?
Yeah, so it's been on hold for a while, for most of the summer. But we are officially moving forward with it again. I mean, we have the authority to do that again. So we've sort of lost some of our momentum from the hiatus. But I got my stuff out this week and started working on the content for that. And so that'll be the next push. And then Tatiana and I will coordinate on we have to deliver to the consultant the text content and the visual content. So that's what they're waiting for from us. And so Tatiana and I are going to coordinate on that. And we'll do that.
Yeah, sure. You're game, I'm game.
I'm game. I'm ready to go.
Right.
And if you do need any
And
help.
we did get their invoice, so you got that. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's my question, is in terms of what is left to pay and what percentage of it is going to be taken out of this current fiscal year.
No, we'll have to look at the invoice and talk to Gabe about what the timeline of the project.
We haven't got the final invoice.
Yeah, I know, I just know how much we budgeted, but, and then it went on hold, and then we couldn't bring that.
Yeah, it was
Just-
8,000.
It was 8,000
and
was the
I think
budget.
Right.
Three or so has been paid.
Yeah.
The most recent one that we just got was for like $1,200, something in that.
Yeah, I think that was a question that Darcy asked at the last meeting as a treasurer, because she was trying to keep track of what from last fiscal is rolling over into this fiscal. So when we do that selection list, what is it called? A spending list, that
Spending
Alex talked
plan.
about our last meeting.
Spending plan, yeah.
Spending plan, we're gonna need to know that before, so we need to know how much we have, I guess. So if we can get that information and get the spending plan, template and all that stuff, then we can get.
That'll be part of the
Or,
orientation.
yeah, it would just be helpful to have those announced before we start, as I understand. If there's any help that you need with the text or anything.
Yeah.
All right, I'm putting you on my list.
Yes, same.
I
Little
think-
writer over there.
Yeah, I think when we get a handle on, the biggest portion of it is that we want to have a really robust, page with the already completed public art. You know, we've
Yeah.
the gallery
Yeah.
section, and we want to make sure that we're giving credit to the artists, you know, the year, the amount of money spent, all that kind of stuff. So that will probably be the bulk of the work for the website coming up. And I haven't really looked at how much work that's really gonna be.
It's a lot
So,
of, yeah,
we
organizing the
might-
pages. so-
I might look at trying to divvy some of that up so that maybe some of us can volunteer on.
Yeah.
On that, but I'll be happy to organize it.
Awesome, thank you, Helen.
Yeah, I think all that information should already be in our drive, essentially. So hopefully there shouldn't be too many things we have to hunt down through Tatiana.
Hopefully.
Yes, but yeah, that can be something we talk about at the next outreach meeting, which, since I did my BAC training, I know, I mean, it's still an official meeting, even though we had previously, you know, we had thought just it was more informal, but it is definitely has to be a formal meeting. That would have to be noticed, et cetera. But I think since it wouldn't be a regularly, it's not like our regular main monthly meeting, there's, a little more flexibility around when we can schedule it. It didn't have to be as far out in advance noticed. So we can still be flexible, but I think that does get rid of our virtual meeting option, just because that's not, we can't do that right now because we're not under the pandemic emergency anymore. So that flexibility is out. So I still think we can be really flexible on when. I don't think it necessarily has to be the same day every month, but since Tatiana as staff liaison will have to be there, we'll have to work with her availability and figure out like when that might be each month. And I did want to ask about what we need to do for that group makeup. I think we have myself, Ezra, Kimberly, Montu, Darcy. I think that's everybody who's been kind of on our meetings or coming to those meetings. So I wanted to ask, you know, if we needed to, I think everybody is really interested in participating in different ways, and we still can. I just don't know that everybody needs to go to every single meeting. So we would have essentially 2 full meetings every month. Seems like a lot. But I kind of want to open it up for discussion about how we should, you know, it's not so, it's in our bylaws that it's a committee, but it's not so formal that it's, you know, like it has to be the same group of people for a year at a time or anything like that. So I just wanted to open that up for questions, ideas.
I mean, I'll just throw an idea out just to get a conversation started. I'm not on the committee, so you can just, we're not, send it right on back, but where my head is going. And once we have this orientation and kind of a bigger understanding of the lab goals and where we fit under those goals, it makes me think about setting goals for the outreach committee and our projects, and then having people participate on specific I don't know, that's just kind of a fancy way of how my brain is working. These are the 5 big goals. This is how the AC fits. These are the 5 projects we want to work on to support those 5 goals. Who wants to work on these projects as part of the outreach committee? That's how my mind is working now.
I think that's valid, and it also could be that there are other areas. Well, once we do have that communication and see sort of what our goals are for the year, next couple of years, people may choose to, you know, focus on that as opposed to outreach.
Right.
So I feel like, I think the current, like, we're gonna have a meeting in the next month. I think the current makeup is fine. And then
Yeah.
after that, we would say, hey, now we're going to evaluate and see what else we.
That sounds right to me. We just want to make sure that our new members know we're not trying to like exclude the new people from our meetings or anything. You know, and everybody can still participate even if you're not going to the monthly breakout sort of work session. which
I would
is what
definitely
these
bring
are.
it up again next meeting when,
Mhm.
you know, maybe when more people are present,
Right.
maybe some of the new people might.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I think we'll have the same discussion next time, and then we can hopefully make some moves at our September 11th meeting when we have that sort of goal setting discussion. I think that's all I have for outreach.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
which is how you should do it, right?
It is.
All the time.
That's
Yeah.
weird stuff.
That's a great update, thank you. Okay, any other announcements or discussions from maybe one? Questions, Kimberly?
Somebody has an event coming up. Got an email about
What?
Event soon.
Oh, yeah, we'll have an open mic at Hitter Shots Wednesday night.
This would be like ongoing.
Yeah, it's gonna be the second Wednesday of every month. It's with a live band, and the poets are gonna kind of, do their thing behind the live band, and it's gonna be nice. We had one last month and it went really well, so y'all not doing
Is
nothing.
that, is it
Wednesday
all
night.
ages thing? Is it Hinder Shop?
What time?
And it's, sign up 7 to 8, events from 8 to 10, so, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty dope. Pretty dope event.
No, it was widespread when I got the email from my mom.
And I know Dee Dee wanted me to mention, Charmaine Minifield, it's this Thursday? Will be doing her artist talk here. Yeah, that's this Thursday, yes?
What time is that?
I think it's
Saturday.
What?
Thursday. The Dee Dee's email.
So Charmaine Minifield, if y'all came to the last Arts Summit, Arts Division held an Arts Summit in
Yes,
August of
so amazing.
22, and Charmaine Minifield was the keynote speaker, and she's like a really dynamic artist who works in a number of mediums and creates a lot of like really engaging public experiential works. And she also like, I thought she was such a great artist to bring because she works with so many different kinds of artists. So she's very collaborative, like no other artist I've ever seen. So she's always like, I brought this person, this sound engineer and these dancers and these construction people to build this temporary site. Anyway, she's a fantastic and a really dynamic speaker, and her talk is on, I think, Saturday, July 22nd at 2 p.m.
Awesome.
Didn't you send it to her?
Mhm.
See,
So it's a create.
Yep. I was like, that's where, I was like, I saw that today. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
want her to build one of her chapters here.
praise houses, yeah.
Praise houses.
Something we, yeah, the scale of it's, so yeah, we've talked to perhaps collaborating with Wilson Center, the Arts Division, but it's lovely to have her work here in our space. They
No
look,
kidding.
Dee Dee and I went to see them at Emory, and they were beautiful, but there is a small, like, chapel-like studio or exhibition space. So seeing them here, they're just like, feel monumental and just like, they have a whole different energy because the natural sunlight from the skylight comes down and just, I don't know, they're really a lot of
It'd be
like.
cool to
vibrant
even build
energy.
it just right back there in the ground.
Well, I mean, it's a, you know, it's not just building the Praise House, it's like building out a whole slew of programming, and there's a lot of humans, which means there's lots of people to be paid, which is great, it's just a big project, so.
Yeah.
It's huge.
We hope to continue to have a relationship with Charmaine, because she's done work with the Wilson Center, she's done work here with the Arts Division, so we're hoping to keep up that for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, those constructions are serious. It's like building a real house, like they're built like.
Pretty
real
dance inside
houses.
of
Pretty
performance
nice.
experience, it's like, it has to be like, you know, building code.
Yeah.
Right.
Almost,
Yeah.
it's temporary, it can't just be like a little gingerbread house. So, yeah, but, yeah, so if you're interested in her work and this kind of, you know, she's talking about a lot of different, like the past and the present and how they're intersected, like, I feel like she's a really fascinating artist, so I highly recommend coming on the 22nd. Anybody else have something they want to share, they got on the books?
Motion to adjourn.
I'm going to adjourn.
Second.
Good.